It's 1997. Your mom just bought a new Civic. She got the fully loaded EX, so it looks like this, unless your mom's Canadian. Then it was a little less well equipped. Wait, why would that be? Well, when the 6th generation Civic debuted in North America, there were some significant trim differences between the US and Canadian markets. We discussed these differences in detail in a recent video, but what's relevant to this video is the fact that the top trim level Canadian EX sedan was nowhere near equivalent to the US EX sedan. Lacking many of the options and features found on the American EX, like a sunroof, keyless entry, and the VTEC version of the D16, it was more along the lines of an LX. So what if you wanted a well-equipped Civic sedan in Canada? Well, you had to go premium, because that spot in the market was reserved for Canada's new entry-level Acura model, the EL. So let's take a look back at the time when Acura made a Civic. Oh, no, not that one, the first, yeah.
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
Andiamo.
What?
Drive, just drive. Go straight. Straight there. No, left. Go left.
Which way? I don't know.
Go around the circle. Right here, stop.
Wait! Who's after you?
Nobody, but thanks for the test drive.
Released for the 1997 model year exclusively in Canada, the first generation EL was known as the 1.6 EL, in accordance with Acura's awful late 90s model naming strategy. The EL was Acura Canada's entry-level sedan and replaced the sedan model of the Integra, which was discontinued in Canada after 97 due to poor sales. The EL was the first Acura to be built in Canada's new Alliston, Ontario plant. While the Acura branded 1.6 EL was a Canadian market-only vehicle, they were exported back to Japan to be sold as second-generation Honda Dominis, as well as some other markets where they were rebadged and sold as Isuzu Geminis, or Geminis, or Dominis. I don't know. The 1.6 EL is essentially a Civic sedan EX for the Canadian market. It features the EX trim amenities not available on Canadian Civic sedans, like a sunroof, keyless entry, and the single overhead cam VTEC D16Y8 engine. ABS was standard. Like the Civic, it came in either a 4-speed auto or a 5-speed manual. Although since it was marketed as a luxury car, the manual ELs are a little uncommon compared to manual Civics. It also came with a few more upscale items not available on any Civic in either country at the time, like heated mirrors and remote trunk release on the base EL, 15-inch alloy wheels on the Sport model, and even leather interior with heated seats on the premium model. The dash, while similar to the Civic, had a unique layout for the climate controls and standard CD player and featured a standalone digital clock and amber backlighting. Interior door handles were also silver in color instead of just black, to remind you that you are in fact in a luxury vehicle. It's much more than a Civic.
Really?
The EL also did not have the standard floppy roof mount antenna that you would find on Civics from this era. Like on some other Acura models, the radio antenna was integrated into the rear window. On the exterior, it's clearly a Civic, but it features different taillights and a unique front end. If you want an EL front end swap a Civic, which I've seen some people do, you actually need to change not only the lights, grille, and bumper, but also the hood and even both fenders. Starting in 1999, 1.6 ELs got folding mirrors, which Civics of this generation never got. Okay, so we get it. It's a slightly fancier Civic, but will Canadians actually buy it? Well, yes, they did. In fact, in its first model year, the EL became Acura Canada's best-selling car and would retain this title until 2003. The 6th gen Civic was one of the best Civic generations. Who wouldn't want an upscaled one? That's right, Shannon. I got a promotion at work. I'm an assistant regional manager now, so you know, I bought a luxury car. But I do think Acura missed one opportunity. When 1999 rolled around, there should have been an EL Type S, with the B16 and perhaps some of the other EM1 upgrades like rear disc brakes. Unfortunately, Acura never gave us this, but plenty of other Canadians have thought this same thing and done this swap themselves. So there's a few out there, and I think that's pretty cool. In 2001, the Civic entered its 7th generation. As such, the EL entered its 2nd generation, now known as the 1.7 EL. The new 1.7-liter D-Series VTEC shared with the new EX Civic was a coil unplug ignition engine that over its predecessor was a little more modern and a lot more cost-cut. Torque was up by about 7 foot-pounds and horsepower was up by 0. Like before, the 1.7 EL looked like a Civic sedan with different lights, but now the difference is a little more subtle because Honda didn't want to have to manufacture any unique body panels to accommodate headlights of a different different shape. So if you want to EL front end swap the 7th gen Civic, it's just bumper grille and headlights. And this carried over to the interior as well. It's now one dash fits all. The backlight color was amber again, and faux wood grain was an option. The premium trim level again added leather and heated seats. To the EL's credit, alloy wheels and rear disc brakes were now standard on all trim levels. Automatic climate control was added to premium models in 2003 and then became standard in 2004. 2004, which was also the Civic update year, gave the EL a new front bumper and slightly updated taillights. Tweeter speakers were also added, giving the EL a 6-speaker audio system, and fog lights became standard equipment as well. The revised instrument cluster had chrome accent rings added around the gauges, making it feel just that much more upscale every time you check to see if you're overheating. I should mention that the gauges were actually updated to the new style in 03, and that aligns with what happened with the Civic, where the gauge cluster was updated in 03, a year before the rest of the car was updated. But what's weird about the EL is the backlighting is in amber for 03, but then it goes back for 04. Did they just run out of amber bulbs in 2003, or are these 03 pictures leftover remnants from the alternate timeline in which Berenstain Bears was spelt with an E? There was a dealer-installed aero package available in 03 and 04, which added front and rear lips, side sills, and a spoiler. And I think this package on an 04 model is the best looking version of the 1.7 EL. I can't say I'm much of a fan of these though. Like the previous generation, they're a dressed up Civic. The problem here is I don't like 7th generation Civics. They're a big step backward in quality over the 6th generation in my opinion, and if you're buying one of these, you're buying one of those, pattern failures included. But that's something we'll talk more about in my Civic deep dive video, which if it's not already out when you're watching this, it's coming very soon. In 2006, as expected, the EL was once again updated to match the new 8th generation Civic, but now it was called the CSX, and it's technically considered its own model and a successor to the EL. But let's be real, the only reason the name was changed was once again to match Acura's latest model naming scheme. Someone in marketing decided that all model names now had to be 3 letters ending with an X. While the CSX remained a Canadian market only upscaled Civic, it's important to mention that for the 8th generation of Civics, the trim levels between Canadian and US became much more similar. The Canadian EX was now pretty much the same as an American EX. This may make the CSX sound pretty much pointless, but because of this, they did put a little bit more effort into upscaling the CSX. Cosmetically, the exterior had different headlights and taillights again, this time borrowed from the JDM Civic, but the CSX, unlike either of the ELs, actually had a different engine than the EX Civic. Underhood was the K20Z2, which was also borrowed from the JDM Civic and made 155 horsepower. It wasn't the SI engine, but still a nice step up from the R series found in regular Civics, and it could be paired with either a 5-speed auto or 5-speed manual transmission. CSXs came standard with 16-inch alloy wheels, 4-wheel disc brakes with ABS, and was one of the first North American models to feature turn signals integrated into the side view mirrors, something which is pretty much standard on all cars now. The interior was a Civic EX interior with a few extra surfaces painted gray instead of black and a few chrome accents. The steering wheel was leather wrapped and featured audio controls and paddle shifters and automatic transmissions. All CSXs had heated mirrors and automatic climate control. Upgrading to the premium model added heated leather seats, a sunroof, an in-dash 6 CD changer, and HID headlights. Premium models could also be outfitted with an optional navigation package. Some cool dealer-installed accessories not found on Civics included an auto-dimming rearview mirror and footwell illumination. But now we're going to talk about the coolest part of the CSX. Remember how I mentioned that Acura should have made an EL Type S? Well, this time, they did. Starting for the 2007 model year, there was a CSX Type S. The Type S had all the premium model CSX comforts, but was then equipped with the K20Z3 engine from the Civic Si, as well as the 6-speed manual transmission, limited slip differential, and the sportier suspension from the Civic Si. I think the CSX Type S is pretty cool. It's the only time they ever really made a fancy Civic Si. It's an Si for those of us that want the sportiness and fun of the Si, but also the luxury and refinement of an Acura. It's the Si for the more mature consumer. It's the SI for assistant regional managers.
Assistant to the regional manager.
Same thing.
Hey guys, is this the Honda meet? Check out my SI. It's from Canada. No, it's not an old man SI. Hey, want to see what CDs I'm listening to in my 6-disc CD changer? What do you mean, what's a CD? The The 2009 mid-model update added Acura's new corporate grille, because it wasn't enough for Acura to just name all their models the same, now they wanted them to all look the same too. Also, as part of the update, the inside of the headlight housings were blacked out, and the shape of the taillights became more octagonal. More sides equals more luxury, I guess. A USB audio input was added to all models, and Bluetooth was added to the technology package and Type S models. The final CSX model year was 2011, alongside the 8th Gen Civic. The Type S had been discontinued the year previous, and so ended the run of the Canadian exclusive Acura Civic. The ILX is considered the successor to the CSX, but that's not a Canadian-only model, and there's a lot more with that one that differentiates it from the Civic. I think the CSX actually did get another generation though, it just didn't come out until 2022. And that was the time that Acura made a Civic. So let me know what you think about it down in the comments, and we'll see you soon in the next video.